Storm Tracking Storm News Channel 25 Night Beat.
A state of emergency has been declared in Washington, D.C. tonight, not because of a security threat or a terror attack. A blizzard warning is in effect as a potentially historic storm bears down on the Capitol. In fact, the entire Northeast.
Schools and government offices will be closed. ABC's Lana Zach is there.
Millions of Americans are preparing for a winter storm of epic proportions. This store in Chesapeake, Virginia, forced to limit the amount of snow supplies each customer could purchase.
The fastest moving thing has been the snow shovels. We're down to like our last few of them, which is like 3 or 4.
This D.C. Trader Joe's supermarket trying to control the crowds, only allowing 10 shoppers in at a time.
Take the next 10.
Is it all too much? The director of the nation's weather forecasting agency today said preparation is important to save lives.
We're talking about a potentially paralyzing storm.
It is a message that resonates with parents in North Carolina, furious after a school bus filled with students nearly slid into a river. Luckily, no one was injured.
It just kind of started going sideways down the hill. I kind of screamed a little bit. My heart was a little in my knees, in my feet.
And here in the nation's capital, in what's predicted to be the heart of the storm, after Wednesday's relatively minor snowfall caused major accidents, the stakes now are even higher.
And it isn't just the snow. Now forecasters are predicting the possibility of tropical storm force winds here in the nation's capital, threatening to bring all this traffic to a complete standstill. Lana Zach, ABC News, Washington.
And for the latest overnight developments on this storm, be sure to tune in to Good Morning Texas, starting at 4:30 tomorrow morning.
This
New on the Night Beat tonight, a Waco family thanking a quick-thinking neighbor after the back of their home caught fire this evening. The man was taking out his trash in the 1100 block of Lawrence Drive when he saw the flames rising above a nearby home. The storage building behind a neighbor's house had caught fire. The man quickly ran to that house and alerted the mother and daughter inside about the flames before he called 911. No one was hurt, but crews say this could have been much worse.
We did have some propane bottles around the storage building that caused us a little bit of concern for a few moments, but we were able to get some of those moved and kind of cool the fire down very quickly, which removed the hazard there.
Only took about 10 minutes to get the blaze under control. The actual home had suffered just smoke damage. Still investigating what ignited that fire.
Marlin city officials received a special token in honor of slain Police Chief Darrell Allen this afternoon.
He was a visionary and he was a pioneer.
KXXV, a company based in Texas, gave a Texas flag that had flown over the Alamo to honor Chief Allen's life and service. Today's presentation of the flag has a special meaning for the new Marlin police chief.
It symbolizes Chief Darrell Allen's hard work, his dedication, the time that he spent not so much fighting with the council, but presenting things to the council that he knew that we need, and I appreciate everything he's done.
Before his death, Allen was working with KXXV to install a software in patrol cars to increase officers' safety. KXXV, which allows officers in Texas to share real-time information about suspects, is being used in Marlin since last week. The chief there hopes they can put the flag and Allen's retired badge on display in City Hall.
On the crime beat tonight, a hospital rampage lands a Waco man behind bars after he attacks a couple of police officers. Christopher Blackwell was first taken into custody in the 300 block of James because he threatened to shoot his elderly neighbor. He resisted arrest when officers arrived but was sent to Providence Health Center for a mental evaluation. Blackwell was so violent there, medical staff had to restrain him and give him a shot. And when he regained consciousness, he became combative again, hitting an officer in the face and slamming another into a wall. They subdued him with a taser gun, then arrested him.
A teen driver escapes death when his SUV ran through a chain link fence and a fence pole impales his side of the vehicle. Just take a look at what happened. Waco police say the 16-year-old lost control near the intersection of Bosque and North 32nd Street this morning. They think he may have been speeding or distracted when his SUV went off a curb, through a fence, and then flipped. Amazingly, the teen suffered non-life-threatening injuries.
Final report on safety recommendations after the West Fertilizer Plant explosion will be released next week. Investigators with the U.S. Chemical Safety Board will hold a public meeting a week from tonight to explain their findings. And the board will hear public comments before possibly voting on that final report. Now, that meeting will be at the Waco Hilton in downtown from 6 to 9 p.m. It will also be live streamed online for you. Now, check our website at KXXV.com for a link on how to do that.
A former Robertson County District Attorney is going to jail for 30 days after pleading guilty to misapplication of fiduciary property. John Paschal was a 6-term DA and the executor of the estate of a Calvert woman who died in 2004. Her relatives started asking questions and learned Paschal had spent more than $200,000 of that woman's estate. Paschal must surrender his law license and repay the stolen money.
Hubbard residents are under a boil water notice. The city had to repair a major water leak that forced a shutdown of the system there. Officials say boil your water for 2 minutes before cooking or drinking until further notice.
Police are warning to be on the lookout after what they found in the city of Lampasas today. It was a rabid skunk discovered in a backyard in the 1500 block of Taylor. It was tested, turned up positive for rabies. The Lampasas Police Department encourages you to call them if you see an animal that looks sick or is acting strangely.
1 month after winning their first state football championship ever, the La Vega Pirates celebrated through the streets of Belmead today. La Vega fans marched through town before ending the night at Pirate Stadium for a pep rally to honor their state champions. The Pirates beat Argyle 33-31 thanks to a last-minute touchdown by quarterback Jamal Williams. Now, he's the son of head coach Willie Williams. And Tim O'Donnell will have more on the celebration after that incredible season a little later in sports.
Well, it was a record year for U.S. airports and guns, and a lot of the numbers were linked to Texas.
Now, speaking of numbers, what do teachers do when they don't get paid? Well, at one school in Houston, they don't come to work.
And it's going to be cold for you in the morning. I'll have that chilly Friday forecast coming up. And that wind. Glad I wasn't out there too long. My hair was blowing all over the place.
It's cold. You don't want to be out there very long because it's cold.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, North Texas investigators get help on a murder investigation from an unlikely source.
And guns, and more guns. Turning up at Texas airports. Some startling numbers for you when the Night View returns. A suspected murderer is in custody after he called police saying he'd shot and killed a man. The sheriff's office in Denton County was called by that suspected murderer saying he'd taken the victim's vehicle. A man in his 50s was found shot dead in his apartment in Carrollton. Police in Justin pulled over the suspect in the victim's Cadillac. Police say they have the evidence the suspect and the victim knew each other. They're trying to figure out their relationship and what led to the shooting.
2 women are dead and a man is in police custody after a standoff in South Texas early this morning. Authorities say the women were shot in a home near San Antonio. One of the victim's daughters was asleep inside when it happened. The suspect left the scene in a pickup. Deputies later tracked down that truck, but the man sped off, leading them on a chase throughout the county. Now, police threw out several spike strips and deputies ended up having to use their own cars to ram his truck off the road.
He ended up in the median, and then he pulled a gun and pointed the gun at himself, and he was threatening to kill himself. So we started talking to him for hours, probably about 5 hours.
Investigators also found the body of one of the victims in the back of that pickup. They believe he took her body after he shot both her and her roommate.
Investigators are trying to track down a suspect who reportedly shot and killed a canine officer near Tyler. Officials say Michael Koch shot the dog several times during a traffic stop. The animal jumped on him after he got into a physical confrontation with a deputy. 2 other people were taken into custody at the scene, but Koch ran off into the woods.
We assume the suspect is still armed. As far as we're concerned, he's still armed. We haven't found a gun that he discarded anywhere, so we're going to assume he's armed and dangerous.
Koch later tried to steal a car in the area, but then it caught on fire. In addition to the shooting, he is wanted for evading arrest in 4 counties.
A record number of firearms were seized last year at U.S. airports, and 5 of the top 10 airports were in Texas. Today, the TSA released its latest data from 2015, found more than 2,600 firearms in carry-on bags last year, and 83% of them were loaded. The #1 airport for guns seized was DFW with 153, followed by Atlanta's Hartsfield International Airport. Houston's Bush Intercontinental was third with an even 100 firearms. Rounding out the top 10, Dallas's Love Field at #8, followed by Austin Bergstrom at 9th place, and Houston's Hobby Airport had 52 guns.
Several teachers at one Houston charter school are refusing to show up for work. Teachers at Houston Heights Learning Academy, who staged the sick out, say they won't return until the school pays them for what they're owed. For the last 2 days, students have been coming to class without them instead of homework. Abby D'Alessandro says her oldest daughter made signs of support.
The teachers are wonderful here. Wonderful. I mean, wonderful is an understatement. They care about your kids. If something's going on during the day, they call you, they text you.
In fact, many of the parents have received text messages from the teachers apologizing for the inconvenience. A board member at the school says the teachers did not receive a check for one pay period due to an accounting error. That same board member says the issue has not been resolved, though, because the school superintendent took a leave of absence.
New visa rules are in effect to help keep terrorists out of our country.
And Wall Street had a little better day today, but still a lot of ground to make up after the big slump due to falling oil prices.
Investors finally saw some green numbers on Wall Street today after a dismal start to the year. Analysts say market volatility is caused by tanking oil prices at the lowest in 12 years. And that means savings for consumers at the pump, but it's a significant blow to the energy industry, which lost 100,000 jobs last year.
The market can handle bad news, but it can't handle uncertainty. So not knowing where the bottom is in oil causes a lot of angst among even the real professional money managers.
Investors are also concerned about a downturn in China's economy. They're worried that a slowdown there could trigger a slowdown here in areas like construction, technology, and manufacturing.
New visa rules aimed at keeping terrorists out of the United States went into effect today. Congress passed the provision in December following the November terror attacks in Paris. It tightened the waiver program that allowed residents of 38 countries to travel to the U.S. without a visa. Now, anyone with dual citizenship with Iran, Iraq, Sudan, or Syria cannot enter the U.S. without applying for a travel visa. That also applies to European, Japanese, and Australian travelers who have visited those countries since 2011.
Former pharmaceutical CEO Martin Shkreli has been summoned to appear before Congress. He tweeted a photo of a subpoena Wednesday asking him to testify before the House Committee on Oversight and Reform January 26. Now, he would be questioned about the prescription drug market. Shkreli gained notoriety when his company raised the price of an AIDS drug by some 5,000%. He's also embroiled in a federal criminal case for alleged securities fraud. It's not clear whether his attorneys will allow him to attend that congressional hearing. The regional director of the Environmental Protection Agency who oversees Flint, Michigan, has resigned. Susan Hedman, based in Chicago, will be leaving the office February 1st. High levels of lead have been detected in Flint's tap water and happened after the city switched its water source to the Flint River, which leached lead from pipes. EPA officials were notified of problems with the switch in April, but they didn't tell officer technical assistants until October. Newly released emails revealed the blame game over his office's handling of the Flint water crisis. And just this week, Michigan Governor Rick Snyder apologized and released 200 emails related to the incident. Many residents, though, are still angry.
We want our pipes replaced. We want medical help. We want it now. And then I want to see him deposed, and I want to see the truth come out of him. And ultimately, I would like to see him in jail.
The governor says he just got more money from the state to help Flint residents, and he's seeking more federal funding. At this point, though, many of the residents, they just want clean water again, and it's unclear when that will happen.
An Ohio man was sent to jail after trying to trick a court into euthanizing someone else's dog instead of his own. James Dotson was ordered to put down his pit bull after it attacked a therapy dog and his owner. Well, he stood before the same court that ordered him to take his pet to the SPCA and have it put down humanely, but instead...
The defendant brought a dog that wasn't his dog, said it was his dog, and turned that over to the SPCA so they would destroy an innocent dog that hadn't done anything to anybody.
Luckily, the SPCA recognized the dog and said Dotson adopted it about a week earlier.
One thing, Mr. Dotson, for you to ignore a court order, it's quite another thing to try to perpetrate a fraud on this court. In my 10 years as a judge, I can't recall a more cold and heartless act.
After the judge found him guilty, Dotson was immediately handcuffed and led out of court to begin serving a 28-day jail sentence. The decoy dog, a pit bull mix named Baby, will be getting a second chance at adoption this week. The La Vega Pirates celebrated their state championship with a parade and pep rally in Belmead.
Plus, Midway High School will have to replace yet another coach who will be heading to Allen High School. Tim's got the details next in sports. And finally tonight, you know, hospitals can be scary, especially for kids. But one college student came up with a way to help put them at ease. It's a great idea. It all has to do with turning their IV bags into a source for superpowers. 10 IV heroes were created by Malloy College junior Bobby Lenahan in New York. Basically, a paper sleeve goes over the IV bag, and kids can get superpowers from the drip. Costs a little more than $1 each. That's not bad, but they mean a lot more to the sick boys and girls who feel much safer in a scary hospital.
What a great idea. Yeah. What a simple thing, but
I would want that too.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
I know, that's cool. 7-day forecast. It's going to be cool tomorrow. In fact, cold in the morning. Temperatures in the 30s, wind chills in the 20s. Bundle up. 49 in the afternoon, 28 Saturday morning to kick off the weekend, but it does warm up. 52 with a lot less wind on Saturday, 65 on Sunday. The wind